Hacking my brain to de-stress in minutes. Here's what happened. I was stressed. I grabbed my NuCalm bag. What's in my NuCalm bag? An eye mask, a little iPod Touch. Remember those iPod Touches? A headphone, and some discs, which is the clinical strength NuCalm. And I moseyed up to my second floor bedroom, and I shut the door, and I put on a rescue experience, Rescue 30. In the first couple minutes, I'm listing, going through what's happened already in the day. And then it kind of goes black and nothing really happens for me. And then it goes white again. Hey, where am I? I'm in my bed. Where are my arms? They're by my side. Okay, I think I'm done. I have no idea how long I've been here. I don't really recognize the music because I'm not really lucid half the time I'm listening to Rescue. And that's what happened. Nothing happens. The beauty of this technology is we use technology to unplug you from technology, but you do nothing. You literally lay down, put an eye mask on so that we can block out visual stimulation and your brain's allowed the opportunity to really deeply relax. And we put headphones on you. You hear beautiful music, but most of the music you don't hear. Your ears are still working, but your brain is in this lucid dream state, and most of us are dipping in and out of sleep.
One of the things I think that's important, if we could espouse some wisdom, we've met a lot of people, we've helped a lot of people, we've helped ourselves, but everybody, especially in America that I've noticed, takes themselves so seriously, takes their job so seriously, takes their productivity so seriously. When you go to Europe, I've always been surprised that they have siestas. And, I remember one time I was in Paris and I wanted to get some cheese and some bread, and it was probably 2:30 in the afternoon and the shop was closed. And I thought, you're kidding me. How can you be closed during the middle of a work day? And they were taking a break. And I thought, what a bunch of losers. I don't get it. And as you spend time there over a few weeks, you start to habituate and you start to have later dinners, like at 9, 10, 11 at night. Your meals last 2, 3, 4 hours, not 40 minutes. And you're tired in the afternoon. And it's a natural phenomenon. It's a universal truth that we all lose that peak energy level in the afternoon. It's a universal truth because it's part of our circadian rhythm. It's not an American thing. It's not a Parisian thing. It's not a Vietnamese thing. It's a human thing. One of the things I think it really helps people who really get the NuCalm thing is invest in yourself. Yeah, you got a to-do list. Yeah, you've got to produce. Yes, people are relying on you. Yes, you've made promises and commitments and you need to live up to those. Those are all part of our day-to-day life and living with a level of performance and action and activity and achievement. But at the end of the day, if you're not healthy, if you're not focused, if you're not energized, if you can't tap into your creativity and your horsepower mentally, your product's going to be useless. It's not your best work. So invest 20, 30, 40 minutes, especially in the middle of the day if you can. Take that time to reset, rebuild, and what you'll find, and I can promise you this from my own experience, my energy levels in my normal life, pre-NuCalm, I always hit a wall between 7 and 7:30. Didn't matter. I didn't use coffee. I don't use caffeine generally.
I used to fall asleep every night reading to the kids.
Yeah.
I loved it. I'd say, hey, let's read Goodnight Moon. And I'd lie down next to them, and the book would fall on my face.
Yeah, and it wasn't an excuse to fall asleep. You're tired. I found now, and I used to play beer league hockey, and the game started, you don't get great ice time. The game started at 9, 10, 30 minutes away. And at 7 o'clock, we're like, I'm not playing hockey tonight. I'm going to bed in the next half hour if I'm lucky. And then I get a second wind, and I'm a late night person. So the hockey at 10, 11 at night meant I was up till 2 or 3 in the morning. But since I've been using NuCalm, I can promise you, and I notice if I don't use NuCalm during the day, I never hit that 7 p.m. wall. I have a whole, you mentioned the phrase rebirth, and I really like that thought for the day because it's like stitching 2 days in one.
So there was an Indian gentleman recently shared with me a concept. He said, Jim, it would be fair for me to tell you that your product has doubled my life. Let me explain. I get up and I do my work. I'm the CEO of a company here in India. And then in the afternoon, in my office, I do rescue. What it gives me is a second day. So every day of my life in the last 6 years that I've used your product every day, you have given me 2 days in one, literally doubling my life.
That's brilliant. That's a little more graceful and a little more thought into exactly the same. I'm saying the exact same thing. if you think about life and inspiration, it's all focused on your energy. If your energy is low, your inspiration is low, your productivity is low, your emotional stability is vulnerable. When energy is high, things are easy. Life is easier.
When you go to an athletic event, a big football game, and the home team's getting shellacked and the audience is quiet, the whole experience stinks.
Yeah.
When you go to an event and the audience is going crazy, the spectators, everything, it's a memorable event that you never forget because of that energy.
Yeah. So think of the rescue technology, not as neuroscience, not as a patented, clinically proven, all the things we talk about and we value and are important to us. Those are important to you. Think of this as your energy buddy, the Energizer Bunny phenomenon. You've always got an opportunity to get that second day, to get that second wind. And yeah, you're taking a nap, but it's a 20-minute power nap or a 30-minute power nap, and it's literally resetting you for productivity, for performance, for the mental edge you need to be great, to be your best that single day, that single moment.
So this piques curiosity, and it makes you wonder, how does this work? Is this magic? Is it mythical? Let me help demystify this. It's all fundamental to physiology and math and physics. There's a relationship between our breath and our healing. There's a relationship between our breath and our ability to be responsive to stress as opposed to reactive. It's all breath modulated. Now, when you are stressed out, you'll notice your shallow breath. If someone tells you you're stressed out, you usually curse at them or yell at them and get even more stressed out than actually taking a breath and relaxing. Well, the breath is directly associated with your frequency, and your frequency is directly associated with your behavior. What? Yeah, this is how this works. There's a frequency range that every human brain oscillates in, and there's 41 hertz. And in that range, there are 5 categories. Delta, theta, and alpha are slower frequencies, and they are all in sleep. Beta and gamma are faster frequencies, and they are in action. So let's peel this back a little bit. When your brain, my brain, everybody's brain, is at 0.5 hertz to 1 hertz to 2 hertz to 3 hertz to 4 hertz, we know what you're doing. It's not up for debate. It's a physical, direct correlation. You are in dreamless-like deep sleep. So for those of you who have kids, you'll remember back, if your kids are older, that when they were young, say they fell asleep on the couch, and they were asleep for about 30 minutes. You go to pick them up. How can my child, who's like 6 years old, weigh 1,000 pounds? It's the force of gravity because the body's not creating any energy.
They're staying on the couch. It's a
because
blanket.
they're sleeping.
Yep.
Dreamless like deep sleep. The faster frequency is theta, 4 hertz to 7 hertz. And in that state, it's a lucid dream state. You're hovering just above that deep sleep space, but your cells are cleaning their toxins, your mitochondria is restored, and this is the cellular health, healing, reparation aspect of sleep. Alpha is 8 hertz to 12 hertz, and this is synonymous with creativity, being in the zone, beginning to relax and fall asleep. And meditation.
Yep.
What's cool about this is that these frequencies are directly associated with how you feel. So say you're feeling like you're just about to fall asleep. You're at a conference, and it's the afternoon you just ate, and you're stimulated by the content, but you're literally hitting that wall that David talked about, and you're like, I'm falling asleep, man. I'm trying to sleep with my eyes open, and now my head's starting to nod. You're at 12 hertz. 13 to 15 hertz is you're awake, but you're not really that excited to participate in the day. Low energy. 15 to 20 hertz is the learning zone. The learning zone is a specific frequency, 18.4 hertz specifically, but the range is 15 to 20 hertz. What makes this the learning zone? In this state and in this frequency, there is no space in your brain for distractions. You become singularly, intentionally thoughtful, and your concentration, your intensity, your mental acuity, your comprehension, your clarity, your ability to encode new information and consolidate to memory is in this zone. When you are in that state of 18.4 hertz, and we have a product called Focus where you listen to headphones while you're doing your work, you are definitely mentally efficient. You definitely lose sense of time because you are in the zone of focus like you've never have been. So that's 15 to 20 hertz. 20 to 25 hertz is stress, distraction, high intensity, shallow breath, heart rate's going fast, peripheral vision's a little off, maybe sweating a little bit, easily agitated, impatient. Your response to someone's stimulation doesn't meet the stimulation. You overindulge in agitation, anger, impatience. You're quick. You snap at people for the wrong reason.
You're edgy.
You're edgy. You're on edge. You're irritable and you're agitated. 25 to 30 is a higher form of this state, and it's a terrible state to be in. You don't want to be there. You can't figure out how to get out of it, and that keeps you in that frequency. This is directly correlated to the amygdala and the amygdala's fear factor and wanting you to be hypervigilant because it feels like you're in danger, sometimes mortal danger, even though rarely in your life, maybe a handful if you're unique, would you be in mortal danger. So this is the slow evolution of the reptile part of our brain that has a really strong grip on our behavior. But it's all frequency modulated. So 25...
Yeah, so Jim, one moment there. I don't know a lot of people who've had near-death experiences, especially multiple near-death experiences.
Really?
And that stress response that we're talking about is really, literally built for that moment. So why do we have stress all the time if we're not in a near-death experience?
Our brain physiology has not caught up, evolutionary, to the strength that the primordial midbrain had. So if the amygdala and the fight or flight and the stress response has millions of years of head start in front of our personality, character, patience, presence, decision-making, logic, emotional function, that's why. And it begs the question, why aren't we evolving faster? Why do we continuously not learn from generational mistakes? Why do we repeat the same historical problems? Because the amygdala's strength. Your amygdala is working for you. It just doesn't understand its role anymore. It has too much strength and authority, and it has an expertise in sabotaging your brain. Your amygdala does not want you to make a mistake ever. Your mind remembers every mistake you've ever made. And so if you think, hey, I want to do this, your amygdala remembers, hey, when you were 11 years old, you failed at this miserably. You had such social shame that you didn't want to go out and see anybody for a year. I'm not letting you do that again. So the amygdala's strength and ability to direct our thoughts and manipulate our behavior keeps us in this state. Now, if I said to you, David, you're a creature of habit, I think I have said this to you before. You took that.
So the amygdala is like an overbearing mom.
Absolutely. Yes. Beyond. Like the most overbearing mom. And it's very quick.
Like an overbearing mom.
And it's very quick to trigger.
Yeah.
So it's solving problems that haven't even arrived yet, and it's 3 or 4 steps ahead. But if I said to you, you're a creature of habit, your first inclination would be, shut up, what do you know? But it's not an insult. You're a creature of habit because when you stick to the familiar, your brain doesn't have to work that hard. When you repeat the same function, the same thing, the same pattern, you go to the same restaurants, you go to the same stores, you do the same thing in your life, your brain doesn't have to work that hard because you are not perceived in mortal danger at risk because familiarity and security. Again, the central nervous system is constantly looking for familiarity
I go
and
to
security.
The same restaurants. I don't ever look at the menu. I already know what I want.
You're a unique creature of habit. You're one of the more, because you have the unique
I'm
opportunity.
an evolved creature of habit.
You are. You're like your third level. You're 3.2 probably. Because what's interesting is you have the opportunity to expand beyond that because you get to travel all over the world. But even when you go to a city, you find a place or two and you anchor there.
Oh yeah, no, I've been to cities for a week and I've gone to the same restaurant every single night. Fortunately, it's a good restaurant. I nailed it the first time.
So that allows your central nervous system to work less hard. Because if you went to a different restaurant each of the 7 nights, your central nervous system has to figure out, first of all, where am I? How does this work? How's this experience going to be? And am I safe? Is it familiar and is it secure? A great example of this is say you're invited, say you work with a group of people and you like them and they invite you to a party and it's in Midtown Manhattan and it's at someone's address you don't know, but you know your friends are going to be there. And you're punctual and the party starts at 7. You don't want to be nerdy and show up at 6:55, but you're around the corner waiting and you show up at 7:15. And you show up and wow, there's a lot of early birds here. There's already 20 people in the room. And you are completely uncomfortable because you don't recognize a single person. And you're anxiously looking at your watch and you're starting to think, how do I nicely get out of this? I don't want to be here. And time continues to pass. Your discomfort continues to grow and you're constantly looking. You're looking at every face. You're eavesdropping on other people's conversations and you are brutally uncomfortable. And then, lo and behold, 3 people deep in the corner, you see and recognize a face. Now, this person is the least liked person in the office. You don't like this person at all, but you immediately take a breath and you immediately feel anchored because your central nervous system says, I identify that person's face. It is now safe. Is this wild or what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the reality is, we think as humans that we have all this control over our thought pattern and how we want to do things. We have a lot less control than we think we have. And it's not because we're weak or we're not sophisticated. It is because we have to honor and be humbled to the millions of years of the evolutionary process, the neuronal circuitry, the synaptic firing of the fight or flight survival mechanism that as of, maybe in the Wild West and you were a schooner and you went out, you created a new homestead, and maybe back then the amygdala could have been stronger and should have been stronger. But as we've evolved, even through world wars, we don't need that because there's not a life and death nature about our survival anymore. But it's not up to us to decide. This is the circuitry and the evolution of our brain. We evolve as a species very slow. Another good example, many of us take supplements. Many of us are smart enough to know that the body and the evolutionary process has not figured out how to extract a high yield of nutrients from a supplement. Now, we're learning because we're learning animals. So maybe it's not a capsule. Maybe it's a liposomal. Maybe we want to, absorb it through the capillaries under our tongue. There are a lot of different ways and methods to deliver that message to the body and the brain. On a good day, extract 7 to 9% of the nutrients that we absorb into a supplement, and we excrete the rest. So we're peeing 93% of the supplement away, but we still take them. At some point, evolutionary-wise, our body will figure out what is a supplement, what am I supposed to do, and extract a higher yield. But today, 2025, you're still going to get the most nutrient-dense information from real foods, not supplements. Again, the slow, pedantic evolution of the human body and the brain. So let me get back to the frequency range for a second. 30 to 38 hertz is a place you don't want to reside. You never want your brain to be 30 to 38 hertz because this is pure fight, flight, or freeze. You are in mortal danger or have the perception that you're in mortal danger. Your cognition in your frontal cortex is lacking any blood flow. There's no cognitive availability. You are dissociated and you are cognitively disabled. Interestingly enough, your ears still work. So if someone's yelling at you, your ears can still hear that voice. Your brain can't process information. This is shock. This is pure survival. Your amygdala says, I don't need any help from my conscious mind. I need to survive. And that's what I'm going to do. So that's that frequency range. And then above the highest level of stress, cognitive dissociation, shock, fight or flight, is this sweet spot called gamma, 39 to 41 hertz. And gamma, as we're learning, has amazing multi-level opportunities for improving and enhancing the life of a human being. Gamma is associated with high-intensity, mistake-free focus. The highest frequency range is 41 hertz. And in that state, your gross motor cortex and your sensory motor rhythm are activated, meaning your musculature and your muscle memory is fully activated. This would be more an athlete performing at a very high level and not missing anything. Time slows down. They're on a nanosecond level processing information at a high rate of speed and delivering based on their muscle memory with no interference from their mind, their insecurity, their confusion, their judgment.
You can also get there in the zone in alpha too, right?
Correct.
When they're extremely relaxed.
Correct. So that, ladies and gentlemen, we just went through the 5 categories of brainwave function. Here's why that's important. It is all directly related to your state of mind and what you're doing. So this isn't up for debate. This is pure math. When your brain's at 1 hertz, you are in dreamless-like deep sleep. Not up for debate. When your brain's at 6 hertz, you're in the healing zone. Sometimes it's a lucid dream state. Sometimes you're kind of dipping in and out of this conscious state. When you're at 9, 10 hertz, you're relaxed. When you're at 13 hertz, you're awake, but you're mellow. When you're at 18.4 hertz, you're learning at the highest level of intense learning possible. When you're at 22 hertz, you're stressed. When you're at 27 hertz, you're higher stressed. When you're at 30 hertz, you're really, really stressed, completely agitated. When you're at 35 hertz, you're cognitively dissociated. You're in a state of shock. Your brainwave's going too fast. Your brainwave frequency is going too fast. Your breath is too shallow. You're not getting enough oxygen. Remember the correlation between oxygen and brainwave frequency. The slower the frequency, the more the oxygen. And then 39 to 41 hertz is gamma, high intensity, mistake-free focus. What we created with NuCalm is a way to modulate the speed up, slow down of your frequency with the outcome associated with the frequency. So on the app, there are 8 products. You select any outcome you want. Hey, I want deep sleep. We're going to put you to 0.5 hertz. Hey, I want to focus. We're going to take you to 18.4 hertz. Hey, I want high intensity. We're going to take you to 41 hertz. Hey, I want creativity. We're going to take you to 7.83 hertz. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how we created a safe, predictable, and efficacious way for you to manage your state of mind simply by pressing play on a mobile app.
The remote control for your brain.
The remote control for your brain.